making pizza at home. You don't need a pizza oven. You don't even need a pizza stone. You just need your home oven in your regular kitchen. I'm gonna be sharing all the tips that I've learned from cooking pizza for the last 4 years. I have probably made over 1,000 pizzas, at least. And this is what I've learned if you want to make a great thin crust, delicious, and healthier pizza at home in your pizza oven. Okay, the first thing I'm going to start with is the sauce. The sauce is important because people forget about it. Of course, the dough is the star, the toppings is what you think about, but the sauce is crucial. So you want it to be subtle, but you want it to be flavorfully saucy. You're gonna use whole tomatoes. I got this whole big can. I'm not gonna use all of it. San Marzano's better. This is just some brand that I got at Costco. I put garlic and olive oil into a little pot. I'm just cooking the garlic. So this is where you get a lot of the other flavors. And then salt, that is it. Now, if you really wanna spruce it up, to level it up, honey and MSG. I'm not putting a lot of this. This is gonna help with the acidity. I just like this over sugar. Typically, most canned whole tomatoes aren't as good as homemade, so this helps with sweetness. And then MSG, this is just an Asian secret. Last but not least, I'm gonna be using a food mill. This is just gonna take the whole tomatoes and just mill it down to a nice consistency, and then I'm gonna show you how to cook it right here. I'm gonna take the whole tomatoes, put it into the food mill like so. Now see all this liquid? I'm not gonna really use that much of it. I just want the tomatoes. If you had San Marzano, this liquid would be way more thick. Normally I do about 2 cans and then I save it. So put this off to the side. There we go. If you don't have a food mill, you don't have to have one. All you're gonna do is put your whole can of tomatoes, especially if it's a nicer brand, you're just gonna use your hands and squish them up. You can wear gloves. I don't use gloves because I'm cooking for my family. Just squish it up with your hands. To actually start cooking this, as I mentioned before, all I'm trying to do is sweat the garlic. Turn the heat down to low now. A heavy duty garlic press goes a long way. If it sizzles, that's great. It's not gonna take me very long to press all these. The reason I like to press it through a garlic press or even just mince it up, just so that there's not chunks of garlic inside my sauce. One clove just somehow fell in there. Not a big deal. I'll remove it later. I'm gonna add a little bit more olive oil. I do like to add a little bit of salt right now. I can see it's starting to turn color. That's when you want to add in your sauce. You're gonna keep the heat at a low temperature. We're really not trying to cook the tomatoes because we still want the acidity. As you can see though, there's a lot of liquid in this, so that's why I didn't add any more of that tomato juice. This is just straight tomato. Just gonna go ahead and that's looking much better. So once this cools down, it will thicken a little bit. So tip number 2 has everything to do with the oven, which by the way, you're gonna set to 500 degrees. Why 500? Because it's the hottest most ovens get to. Make sure you preheat this at least 20 to 30 minutes before. So the reason you want to get this to 500 degrees is because the great thing about pizza ovens, they're really hot. We're talking like 700, 800, sometimes 900 plus degrees, and that does something to the crust. So to try to mimic that, you're gonna get this as hot as possible, at least 20 to 30 minutes before. Sometimes I have it on longer. You don't wanna lose that heat. You wanna retain that heat. So you wanna get this sucker really warmed up, thoroughly heated, and it's gonna serve you well when baking your pizzas. Tip number 3, sourdough. So you can use any dough you want. Highly recommend a good sourdough pizza dough because it's just delicious. In addition to it being delicious, it's healthier. See, the thing about a sourdough, you have to let it sit and ferment for at least 1 to 2 days, sometimes longer. I've heard some people doing it for a whole week. What's happening is that starter is breaking down all the things in your flour and it's extracting goodness. This is probably the tip that most of you guys might skip because using an instant yeast and making pizza that dough, or even buying your pizza dough is gonna be way more convenient, but I'm telling you, the flavor that you get out of a sourdough that stands up to the sauce and the toppings, and the health benefits are undeniable. I've heard people that are gluten intolerant, they can actually eat this. Not everybody, and don't take my word for it, but just do some research and you'll see. For my dough, I just give it a little flour bath, I guess you could say. It's just to help it from sticking. Just oiling these so that when I pick up the dough, it doesn't stick.
Daddy?
Yeah?
I'm the boss.
You're the boss?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not the boss.
I'm not the boss, huh?
No.
All right, so I just flattened the dough. It's just gonna rest here for a second before I put the sauce on it and throw on the toppings. But notice, it's not on a pizza stone, it's on a pan. It's specifically a blue steel pan. Now this is one that I have not used yet. This is what it looks like. Don't mind the rust marks because literally I never use it. This is what you're gonna use. A lot of people, they wanna use a pizza stone to mimic a pizza oven. Great, but not everybody has one. And then two, they're all different kinds, different thicknesses. I'm trying to create the most simplest recipe tutorial directions for you. These blue steel pans, this is what they use at a lot of restaurants. This is the way to go. Now, once you use this, it's going to get its own kind of natural nonstick, and it's gonna look like this. I don't even wash this anymore. I just brush it off with some paper towels. That's kind of what happens to it over time. This has cooked probably 1,000 pizzas at this point, and I love it. And guess what? It's still gonna make your pizza crust very crispy. I'll put the link of everything I use down in the description or somewhere on this video. But skip the pizza stone, get your oven blazing hot, and you're gonna be fine. Okay, next tip is the cheese. There's two parts to the cheese. Grate your own cheese and use low moisture whole milk mozzarella. That is it. When you're using pre-shredded cheese, there's all kinds of additives that keep it from clumping together. You don't want that in your food. All you need is this. And guess what? It's more affordable and it'll last you longer if it's in the package. Okay, I just noticed the bottom was cut out because Judy probably used this, which is totally fine because guess what? I just chop off this edge. We're good. So really basic, shred your own cheese. It's not that hard. So I did mention you're not supposed to cook your sauce, but the only reason I'm cooking it is because it was very, very liquidy, because it was a more affordable can of tomatoes. San Marzanos, the liquid in this is more viscous, it's thicker, so you don't have to do this. So if you have a really, really liquidy sauce, just cook it off a little bit, let the moisture evaporate, and that'll help you. But right now I'm gonna go ahead and taste it. This is really important because obviously you want your sauce to have a great flavor, a tomato flavor, but you wanna make sure there's enough salt and, in my case, a little bit of honey for that sweetness, so. Flavor's there, the sweetness is not. Just a tiny bit of honey. I mean, we're just talking, you're just flirting with it. Boom, a little bit of salt. Both the honey and MSG are totally optional, but this is what makes the difference. Okay, my next tip is this. Don't put too much on the top of your pizzas. A lot of people get excited, especially when they're making their own pizzas, and they just want to put a ton of sauce and a lot of cheese and other toppings. We're gonna get to toppings next, but be light. There's a balance, especially if you're doing a thin crust like I am. Don't put too much. Watch how little I put of both this and the cheese, and then we're gonna see how it turns out. I've got 4 pizzas to make today, so before I get into the other tips, just wanted to finish this cheese one for the kids and then go from there. All right, see, notice it's almost as if I didn't put enough toppings on there, enough sauce and cheese, but you'll see once this is done cooking how perfect it's gonna look. Toppings. Obviously, we just did a cheese pizza. It's about to be done in 1.5 minutes, so I have to hurry. The thing is, if you're gonna do any toppings, like the next one is gonna be pepperoni, there's a couple rules. Same thing as this, don't put too much. Just put less, and because of that, use high quality ingredients. Now, use whatever you can afford, whatever you like, but if I'm doing pepperoni, I'm doing a legit pepperoni brand. If I'm putting any vegetables, I'm getting the best one, the freshest ones in season, but don't put too much, especially because this is a thin crust pizza. You want it to be able to hold everything on there. Pepperoni. When I do the pepperoni, I actually do put quite a bit on there, but I'm not putting 4, 5, 6, 7, different toppings. If I'm gonna do any other toppings, it's max 3. Oftentimes it's just 1 or 2. The thing is, the dough is the star, the sauce is the +1, and the cheese should really come through. You don't want your toppings to overtake all of that. It's just like with good pasta. Oh, there's my pizza. When that timer goes off, gotta take it out. Watch out, baby. Woo-hoo-hoo! Put this one in now. Light. The next tip here is this. Have a rack. You wanna let your pizza rest, but not directly on the cutting board. There's a couple reasons for this. You're gonna see it more with the pepperoni, but everyone knows when you do pepperoni, there's some oils. So having this rack, just like with cookies, gives it a little bit of air gap. If any oil drips, it's gonna drip onto the cutting board, but not touch the actual crust. So this is very important. Oh yeah, it's crusty. See, another thing too is you can kind of see the bottom. It's nice and crunchy. And you're gonna let this rest for at least 1 to 2 minutes. You're gonna cut it, and then guess what? You're gonna put it back on the rack. Let me show you. See, look, this is what you're trying to avoid. This oil right here, I don't want it to touch the bottom, so I re-rack it. Oh yeah, that looks good. It's really hot, so be careful. You're gonna re-rack it. Avoid letting the crust hit the oils or any of the other moisture that comes off of it. Like I said, you only need a cheese pizza. And the only other pizza that I personally think you need is a pepperoni, which I'm gonna show you next. I'll share a couple more tips here in a second. Basic cheese. All you need. Oh yeah, there you go, baby. The last tip is a timer. You have to watch this like a hawk, and it's very important that you get this right. My pizzas take exactly 13 minutes, but you have to figure out what works for you. Woo-wee. Oh my gosh, look at this. Woo. Yes. It's a little burnt on this side, but it's okay. The rest of it is perfect. The time. You have to dial in the time for your oven. Even though I said 500 degrees for 13 minutes, I think it will work for most people. It might be 12:30. It might be 13:55 for you. You just have to figure it out. 13 is just a round number to start with. And if you use my ratios, if you're using sourdough and you follow these tips, that should be good. Just like the cheese, though. Gotta get it on the rack. Oh, baby. Minimal oil, though. See all that? That's what the rack is for. Perfect pizza at home is attainable. Takes a lot of practice, and I'm telling you, I've cooked a lot of pizza. I said 1,000. I recalculated it. I think it's 2,000 to 3,000. Okay, my daughter's in the back trying to distract me. But you don't have to follow all the tips. Hopefully 1 or 2 help you. If all 10 are something you apply and you make great pizza at home, completely worth it to try all those. I went through so many mistakes. I tried so many different things, and this is the pizza that if I ever started a pop-up or an actual pizza restaurant, this is what I would serve. And look at this. Look how thin that is. See, if you put too much toppings on this, it would totally fall. You don't need anything fancy. Literally just a blue steel pans rack there. Girls are trying to make me laugh. And a regular home oven that gets to 500 degrees, which is almost every single oven out there. I hope you guys make pizza. Follow me on Instagram, DM me. I'll put all the links to the products I use in the description or somewhere in this video.
Yeah, it's a wrap!
Oh, wait, I'm still doing this, okay? Wait. Come over here and do a dance or something.
Do a dance or something. Do a dance or something. Thanks.